Hello everyone, let's begin with the session. Um, Welcome to Women in Data Science series of Products by Women. Today for the episode 1, we have Radhika Kulkarni with us. Thank you for joining us, ma'am.
Thank you, Shrinedhi. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. For those of you who join Products by Women, we are a diverse global community for women in tech and beyond. So we have launched a new website. Please do check out our new website to connect with peers, get matched with mentors, and also find job opportunities beyond borders. We regularly also launch webinars, leadership lives, company spotlight, and also check our events page so that you stay updated of what's happening with Products by Women. And now moving on to the speaker bio. So Radhika Kulkarni retired as a VP in Advanced R&D Data Science of SAS Institute, and she led the world's largest SAS statistics platform, with which then transitioned to a data science platform. She was leading the analytics software, the complete portfolio. She spearheaded the creation of the Center of Excellence to provide expert consulting to several Fortune 100 companies. She is also an Informs Fellow and WAMS Award winner. She has contributed in numerous ways to the advancement of analytical professionals, especially in the field of data science. So, thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank you, Shrinidhi. Thank you for introducing me. It's a real pleasure to um, be on this first episode. I consider it an honor. Thank you.
Thank you. So, in this session, we would learn more about her journey, some tips on how you make entry into the field of data science, how to equip yourself with the right skills, and so on. So, this is going to be an interactive session. So, we'll also open up the session for Q&A at the end of the session. So, please stay tuned for that. Uh, so, you have been a woman leader in the field of data science. We would love to know what inspired you to take up this career path, considering your background in mathematics and operation research. So, please take us through your journey with data.
Okay, I'll be glad to do that. It also gives the audience an opportunity to get to know a little bit about me as well. So I started as an undergrad student in India, and I got my undergrad degree, bachelor's, as well as a master's in mathematics in India. And I was always fascinated by mathematics. And it might be because my dad was very fond of mathematics and he inspired me to do that and he encouraged me to do that. So even though in my high school class I was the only girl in maths, he was a source of encouragement and he
Right.
helped me that. So after I finished my undergraduate and master's degree in India, I wanted to pursue a PhD in mathematics. And so I came to Cornell University in 1977. That sounds like the dinosaur age, doesn't it? Well, I came then and I started my PhD coursework. And as part of my coursework in the first semester, we had to also take a minor in some other subject. And so I had taken a minor in operations research. And one of the first subjects I studied in the fall semester when I came to Cornell was linear programming. And that fascinated me because it seemed like there were so many real life applications for applying math. So it seemed to me like it was math with a purpose. And so thankfully, Cornell was very accommodating, and they helped me to switch my PhD thesis and my PhD area from mathematics to operations research. And so I continued with that. And once I finished my PhD, I wanted to, of course, as a lot of PhD students do, I wanted to go into academia. I wanted to be a faculty member. My husband also was in operations research, and he got a tenure track position in North Carolina. And it's always difficult to find tenure track positions in the same area. And so I looked around. I taught for a couple of years at UNC Chapel Hill, and then I got a job at SAS Institute as an OR analyst. And so I was geographically constrained, but the area was something that I was interested in anyway. So
Right.
I joined the operations research department, and over time, my responsibilities grew. So I kept getting on more and more responsibilities in the field of operations research. So I led the team of OR analysts, and then I felt that it was important for all the analytical areas to work together. And so I made a proposal that we should create one unit for the analytics department. And so that's when I became head of the analytics division. And analytics is basically applying math models of different
Right.
kinds:
Right.
statistics, operations research, data mining, forecasting, and so on. All of those fields are part of data science, actually. And so that's how I got into that field. And then I guess the rest is history.
Right, right. That's a truly inspiring story. Thanks for sharing that with us. And SAS has been primarily known to the world as a statistician's tool. So, how has its, how has its perception been changed from the statistics to the data science with the boom of the data science era?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So, even though I'm no longer associated with SAS because I retired from SAS a year and a half ago, it still is inbred in me. So I can talk
Right,
about some of the path and the journey, because it parallels my journey as well in
right,
my career. So, SAS is, it started as a statistical software package. And way back in the late 60s, even early 70s, it was one of the few statistical packages which started with doing a lot of data analysis. And right then, it's a real tribute to the founders of the company that they recognized the value of data analysis and how important it was to work with data, take the data, and because the initial package was created to analyze agricultural data, but then taking the data and creating transformations of the variables, and then applying the analysis in the best possible way. That's how the whole package started. So it was not just a statistical software a product, it was also a data manipulation product. And so it was the data analysis, the SAS programming language grew from that perspective. And it still is one of the strongest programming languages to combine data manipulation as well as an analytics. And over time, it went from statistics, and then when I joined SAS in 1983, I was one of the first operations research developers. So that's when SAS decided to get into producing packages for optimization, quality control,
right,
forecasting, data mining, and so on. And so it grew. And then, of course, came the buzzword about analytics and data science and all of that. But essentially, some of the same algorithms like logistic regression, decision trees, all of those neural networks, those have been around for a long time, and they are the bread and butter of a data scientist now, as
right,
well as machine learning and artificial intelligence. So it was a natural transition. And a big step up came also when it was discovered that data doesn't always fit on one machine. It could be distributed.
right.
So when data are distributed, then you have to reinvent some of the algorithms to be able to work with data that is distributed across multiple cores and multiple machines. How do you reinvent those algorithms? So all of us were involved in that. And so eventually we got a really powerful platform for data analysis and in the field of machine learning and data mining and all of those analytical subjects.
It's always nice to be in the field when that revolution is happening. But it's
Yes.
also difficult to stay updated on what's happening with so many updates and the new technologies going on. How did you keep yourself constantly upskilled, and what advice would you give for data enthusiasts who would like to constantly upskill themselves?
So, good question. One of the things, everybody in any role, in any job, you have to be open to learning new skills. So you have to be a lifelong learner and continue to learn new techniques, new methods, new paradigms. All of that has to be an ongoing process for you. My PhD topic was on ranking and selection, which is a combination of some operations research and statistics. When I joined SAS, my job did not have anything to do with my PhD topics. Even though it
Right.
was in operations research, I was hired to build some scheduling software. So it meant
Right.
that even though I had taken scheduling as one of my subjects, it wasn't something that I had got some expert background in. So I had
Right.
to learn that. And then I had to learn how to do much more industry strength programming. I had done programming for my thesis, but then when you're doing programming that has to be stand the test of time as well as anybody using it, it's a different skill set. So I had to learn that. I had to
Right.
learn how to do some graphics along the process. And then when I start, my role became bigger, and I took over the responsibility for the whole OR department. I had to learn more about what
Right.
was important in discrete event simulation, optimization, and so on. And
Right.
then the entire analytics, text analytics, data mining, forecasting, all of those. Even though I don't need to be an expert in that, I would still need to understand what it meant so that
Right.
I help the team progress and do better.
Right. Right.
So it's a matter of continuously learning what to do. And this was true for all the members of the team. And I mentioned earlier in the progression for SAS how we went from to a distributed computing environment. That was a huge challenge for everybody. They had to understand the manipulations of how do you work with data that are distributed across multiple cores in an
Right.
efficient way. And so it was a lot of work and hard work that everybody had to understand and learn. And that's how, it's always a challenge, but it's also exciting. It keeps you on your toes, doesn't it?
Right. Right. Yeah, the spirit
Yeah.
shows how you constantly upskill yourself, that
Yes,
the energy to
absolutely.
keep learning and growing.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have to keep learning, keep growing, keep looking at what is important in the car, and things change. And as you grow into all these different roles, you also need to understand what the customer wants. So understanding the customer perspective also was part of the learning. How do you learn that I'm not programming just for myself, I'm programming for everybody, I'm creating a platform for everybody to use. So what are
Right.
the challenges? So those are some of the skills you have to learn along the way.
Right. Right. Also, we have so many entrepreneurs and job seekers joining with us today. So, I would like to have some questions along those lines.
Okay.
So, there have been so many applications of data science, especially during COVID. Be it robot dogs patrol in Singapore, augmented reality mirror in South Korea, and so on. So, how do you envision the future of AI and ML? So, what are some key areas that could leverage these advancements?
So, with all of us know, COVID has presented tremendous challenges.
Right,
Everybody has been forced to go into digital technology in leaps and bounds. We were doing online meetings and some WebEx types of things, but suddenly within the space of a month, everybody has been doing that. Then the fact that we're all working from home means that look for more ways to do touchless transactions. How do you do more automation? And all of these feeds right into the world of AI. AI is nothing but highly scalable, highly performant, automated, data driven decision making. So essentially, you have the ability to use a lot of analytical tools on a scalable platform that enables you to solve problems super fast. So we were getting to do a lot of these things, but now some of the areas are specifically more, in demand right now. So
right,
the world, as you know, knew it, has completely changed. It's not going to be the same again. It's going to Digitalization has scaled tremendously, which helps all the automation. There's an unprecedented demand for this. So let me share my screen, and I've got a
yeah,
couple of examples which might be easier for the audience to see those bullet points. So let me just
right,
bring up my
yeah,
screen. Um, there you go. As for any crisis, you can do a lot, and you get to know a lot more things that are visible. So, as I mentioned, AI is highly scalable, automated, data driven decision making. So, many of the problems that are currently in front of us have got new challenges thrown at them. So, supply chain, for instance, used to be an area where the focus used to be on minimizing cost. Faster,
Right,
let's get faster, and how can we minimize cost? So, a lot of times we looked at a source which was the closest, which was the cheapest, which was able to provide the materials as quickly as possible. But now, with the global pandemic, we've discovered that those objective functions are no longer the only ones. So we have to look at more resilient supply chains.
right,
Robustness of a supply chain is more important or equally important versus cost. So a multi-criteria optimization has become even more and more important. So not only do you look at the cost, but how can you make it more robust? Rapid
right,
retooling and pivoting as you need, because some of the manufacturers who were manufacturing automobiles and huge industries were asked to change and pivot and make some other items for which were more critical. So how do we rapidly retool even something as simple as toilet paper, for instance? Have you ever wondered why our home toilet paper was running out of supply so quickly? It's not that the toilet paper factories were gone or whatever, but there were fewer people at offices and working in offices. More people were at home, so the industry style toilet paper was no longer as critical to supply. So just having to redo all of that was a big challenge. So people learned. Increased automation in manufacturing, where with more people working from home, we've been challenged and we've had to come to a situation where more people can do automated manufacturing with more robots and stuff like that from working
right,
from home. Wearables, we were doing a lot of work with wearables in the world of healthcare and trying to judge how people's heart rate is being monitored and so on. But some of that work can now help quite a bit in, maybe you
right,
can have wearables where you can monitor people from afar, which helps in contact tracing, checking who
right,
sick and making sure that they follow quarantine rules and so on. So dynamic changes to product portfolio, I already talked about it, and automation in delivery and transportation systems. We were, really getting into drones, drone delivery, and all of that.
right,
But now a lot more of that is become essential. So all the even something as simple as food, eating food, has come to the stage where you depend on delivery or go or
right,
pickups. So these are all some of the areas, and of course, medical and healthcare and vaccines and getting vaccines to market and providing opportunities for everybody to get it. All of those are places where being able to look at data and monitor and changing and quickly changing. So if the vaccine is suddenly discovered to not be effective, how do you change? What kind of you know processes do you need to put in place? So all of these are places where there are huge opportunities for analytics and machine learning and all of that.
right, right. Yeah, this is really interesting. So, budding entrepreneurs, keep an eye out for this, especially during COVID. It's always, yeah, it's always really important on not just building models with data, but how you put the data models into use for the customers and make applications out of it.
Actually, that's a very good point. I'm glad you mentioned that, Srinidhi, because one of the things that, especially coming, if you've got an advanced degree in one of these fields, you want something that really is state of the art, the best algorithm, the best of the best types of optimization methods that you want to seek out. But sometimes implementing that and making that really work may not be as efficient. So you have to always keep that in mind. Okay, so it's a
Right,
balance of what's practical versus what's optimal.
right, right. Um, Also, you played a key role in the creation of OR and AI/ML Center of Excellence, which actually served as an expert consulting for several Fortune 100 companies. So, what did you look for in potential candidates to be a part of it? So currently with COVID creating so many job opportunities, because in the recent months there has been again an upward trend in the opening of job opportunities. So it would be very helpful for potential candidates to know what people are actually looking for so that they could equip themselves along those lines.
Yeah, with regard to job opportunities, you are right. All the problems that we can think of in terms of how to address the current situation and the ongoing situation requires a lot of people who are able to work with data and analyze data. So let me give you a little bit of a background about the ORAIML Center of Excellence that
Yeah,
was quite that has been very successful. Um, Optimization as well as AI, all of these areas are quite technical in terms of the skills that one needs to actually implement them successfully. So you need to have a good understanding of the background of the research in those areas. So we decided that we need to get some real experts together to work with the companies as well as other consultants in our own field, in our own area, to augment that expertise. So
right,
some of the special skills that are needed, this is true for any consulting role, but I'm just highlighting it from the perspective of the types of skills we looked for in the hiring of these people. First
right,
of all, you have to understand the business domain. To be a successful consultant, you have to understand the business domain. Now, you
right,
might say, there are some companies who consult in multiple businesses. Can you be
right,
expert in each one of those? Not really, but you need to be able to take what you have done in one area and apply it to another. At the
true,
same time, when you are faced with a new business domain, you need to spend some time understanding what are the
true,
challenges, what is the problem that is needs to be solved. Then another thing that I really believe is you have to understand the big picture. So it's not enough to say, go in and say, what is my job? What do I need to do?
right,
You have to understand what are the all the different implications, what are the different team members involved in, how does everybody work together. So it's very, very important to be able to work as a team. So working as a team is very, very important for somebody who wants to go into consulting. This is different from somebody who wants to write an algorithm. They also
right,
need to understand the technical skills needed for it and all of that, but they can sit in their office and work and work and work and try to get the algorithms that will work the best. But if you're
right,
working on a business problem, you need to work very closely with the whole team. So you need people who are analytically skilled, both to develop some new innovative algorithms as needed. You also need people who take the algorithms that have been developed and apply it to a specific problem. So that's what I mean by modeling expertise. So you
right,
not really be called upon to build the technical details of the program itself, but you need to understand what it does and how it works. Communication skills, that's extremely important. So one of the things we used to do, and the team still does that, when we ask people in for an interview, we ask them to talk about a problem that they have solved. And
right,
everybody in the audience may not be an expert in that area. So we judge how well is that person able to explain his very complicated algorithm or method, for instance, in ways that everyone can understand. So
right,
that is important. How do you make people understand who may not be experts in that area? Also, you need to be able to answer the question. So if understand what the person is asking. So if somebody asks, you have to be able to go right to, okay, this is what you're saying, this is what you want to know, here is what it is. So all of these are very, very critical in being able to succeed.
right, right. These are very great insights, especially some of them are key transferable skills also.
Yeah.
Because me being a product manager, communication skills is very important when you have the control over the product but not over the team. You don't have the control over the team, and the communication plays a key role.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because sometimes, you may have five or six or even more people working on the same project, project from your company, not
Right.
everybody is going to go and sit with the customer and listen to their problem. So you
Right.
should be able to listen and come back and tell your team what is it, and
Right.
make sure that the data person understands what the challenges are, the analytical modeler understands the challenge, the
Right.
implementation expert, the software expert understands what it is. So all of these skills are very, very important.
Right. Yeah. On the same note, talking about breaking into a career in data science specifically. So, other than the data scientist and data analyst roles, what are other career paths that are available for a data enthusiast? Also,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry.
No, no, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah. So, how does one build the path specific expertise for the other different roles that are available?
Yeah, okay, very, very good question. So I think I touched a little bit about the different types of people that form a team when you're doing a consulting project or working with somebody. So there are multiple roles in a data and analytics organization, and I've just listed a few ones. And so you
Right.
might be able to go into different roles depending on your aptitude and your
Right.
background. So if you're building a team for solving problems, for being a consulting or a research organization, you might be the business leader who's actually making investment and hiring decisions for the team. You might
Right.
say that, okay, now we especially with COVID, for instance, we have so many problems coming up in the healthcare industry, in the
Right.
manufacturing industry. So do we have enough people in that area? So we need to hire these kinds of people who have the domain expertise. We need to hire these kinds of people who are supply chain experts, who are simulation experts, who are predictive modeling experts. But in order to understand the type of expertise, you need to have a good understanding of the base knowledge. So
Right.
you might be a business leader who probably might be and have an MBA, or sometimes some of them even have a PhD in their particular area, but you understand the business well, but you also need to understand which techniques are important for what types of problems and make sure that you do the right types of decisions. So this is one type of role. Then, of course, you need analytical experts. So if you are a deep and an innovative mathematical modeler and want to do research in algorithms and invent new algorithms, then probably you might be you might have had a PhD or sometimes a master's and a lot of experience in specific topics in that particular area. So if it's machine learning, you might have taken lots of courses and done some research projects in machine learning, or data mining if you're in predictive modeling, or optimization if you're in that area. So those would be the people who have a deep knowledge, in-depth knowledge of the mathematics of the model. Right.
Right.
So that's one. The third kind that I've listed here is an analytics modeler who not necessarily needs to build the algorithms, but needs to understand what it means. So if a predictive model says that you need to use, these are the variables that are most important, what does it actually mean? Here is a software tool that's giving you all the bells and whistles, and it's giving you all the point and click mechanism to actually build the model, but do you understand what it means? Especially nowadays, these types of modeling expertise is very important because a lot of software companies are building tools which are very, very sophisticated to do the automated model building. So you
Right.
can check out multiple models, pick out the best model, all of that. But do you understand what the decision tree is really telling you? Do you understand what the optimization is really telling you? So that's where you need to be able to develop the expertise to exploit the analytical tools that are at hand. Of course, data, right? So in all of these problems, you need to start with data. And how do you get the data? Is it the right kind of data? Do you even have the right data based on the problem you're trying to solve? So you need people who understand databases, who have an IT expertise to say, okay, here is how you store the data, here's how you update the data, etc. And then the implementation expert. So once you've got the analytical results, how do you take it out to the field? How do you explain explain to the people
Right.
in the field that this is how you use it. So this is how your quarantining rules have to work. This is how your work at home, this is how your self shelter at home needs to be. This is how the school reopenings need to happen in
Right.
stages. So these are some of the problems that we are facing today. And the modeler can look at it and build the models, but how do you take that and then make it so that everybody can understand how to implement it? Right?
Right. Right. Yeah. So some of these are the terms that many of the people are not heard of also, because with the hype around data science, the roles are mainly people flock towards the data scientist and data analyst roles, and some of these nuances are missed out. So these are very great insights. Thanks for sharing this.
Sure, thank
And
you.
yeah, as we near the end of the session, what is one advice that you would give for data enthusiasts, especially women? Like, what skills do women could develop to set a strong foot in the data industry?
So, uh, okay, I think some the skills I'm going to talk about are, of course, true for everybody, but there are certain places where I think, women can shine in some of these areas. So, I don't know how many women are in the audience, and these are some of the lessons I learned as I
Right,
grew up in this world, and so in this professional world. So first and foremost, and this might be very difficult for some women, take a seat at the table. So let me tell you what that means. So women tend to be a little bit shy, a lot of them, and will not speak up unless spoken to, or unless they feel like they have something earth-shattering to share with others. So you might be invited to a meeting, and you see that there are many people who have gone on and sat around, and then you say, okay, well, you know what? Maybe I'll just go sit on the outside periphery and just participate when needed.
right,
That is a tendency that I've seen a lot of women have, and not and some introverts and some people who are shy do that. But if you have been called specifically as an expert for this problem, make sure you sit at the table. You have been called because your opinion is respected and your background and skills are respected. So you have to be there. So that's something that you have to make sure, because if you're not at the table, you're not going to make a difference, right?
true,
You
true.
then I think I mentioned my big understanding the big picture as something that's very, very critical. So and I always share this one particular story or fable that's common in India, that most of us have heard at some time or the other, where there are six blind men, could be women too, I guess, and they're standing in front of an elephant. They don't know what the elephant is. They don't know that it's an elephant, and they're just touching different parts of the elephant and trying to figure out what that is. So somebody catches hold of the tail and says, "Oh, this looks like a rope." Somebody looks at the foot, touches the foot and says that it seems to be a tree trunk. And so nobody really knows the big picture because they're not able to see. So, but even if you're able to see, sometimes we fall into this trap where we might gravitate towards something that's closest to us, that is dearest to us, that we understand most. So that's the perspective that we see. So we shouldn't fall into that trap. We need to make sure that we understand the big picture. And what that enables you to do is it enables you to understand other people's perspective. So quite often you might be in a situation where everybody at the table is not of the same opinion. They might have different opinions, but that's because they're seeing a part of the elephant that you don't know about. You may not even have known that it exists.
Right,
So to see other people's perspective helps you to resolve problems. So sometimes, actually, if you have an open enough mind, seeing that perspective might even change your own. You might say,
right,
oh, you know what? I never knew that. I didn't understand that part. So that requires, first of all, a view of the whole picture and humility. to know that you could be wrong and somebody else could be smarter than you,
Right.
right? So have confidence in your abilities. Because you've come to where you are, be sure of yourself and don't feel shy about that. You don't need to be arrogant, but you can be confident. When
Right.
you're talking to in a meeting, for instance, you don't need to be aggressive, but you can be assertive. And I think that's something that women sometimes have there's a bias. So sometimes, and I'm sharing this because I've seen other people suffer from this, that
Right.
if a woman is very, very assertive, sometimes it can be mistaken to be an aggressive person, and they'll use all kinds of epithets to define that person. But, we have to just be sure that we are confident and assertive about what we are saying. Then something that I think as women we do have a natural tendency is be empathetic. So when you're in a team, learn to nurture your team and celebrate their success. Make sure. So I always, to me, my team was like my family. So you always want your kids to succeed. You're never envious of your kids. If they succeed, you are happy. If then the whole family succeeds. Your team is your family. So that's very, very important. Then the other one I would really, really urge everybody who's in a hiring position is don't be shy of hiring people who are smarter than you, because they make the team strong. Their
True. True.
success is what will make your team succeed. So be proud of their accomplishments, revel in their accomplishments. So hire smart people. And, use your strengths, learn to use your strengths more effectively. And, the listening ear that we all, especially those of us who have children, have heard that, listening ear to listen to what is it that the child is saying, what is it that the person that's talking to you is saying,
Right.
understand, and it'll help you solve the problem more easily. Right?
Right.
These are just some of the things that I have practiced, and I think if you were to take any books where a woman leader talks about some of the strengths, I particularly like some of these because I can't change who I am.
True.
Am my nature. I was always considered to be a very soft person when I was working. Somebody would say that that you knew that Radhika was really, really mad when she starts saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, because I start by saying, I'm sorry to say this to you, but so the number of sorries she says tells you how mad she is. So some of these things are you just learn to work with your nature, because it's hard to go against your nature.
Right. Yeah. And again, having an open mindset to be empathetic or just sharing what you feel with your team, that ability to learn from others, that is something that also drives you to achieve these keys to success.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much for sharing this with us. Yeah, and we are almost done with the session. Now let's open the floor for questions. Um, in case you have any more questions, please do ping us up privately, or please do ask it openly in case you want to share it by yourself. So,
And one of the things I usually do when I have some slides is put my email there. But I'm on LinkedIn, so if you need to get in touch with me, just send me a note, and I'd be glad to answer offline as well. So it's something that I enjoy doing, talking to people who are interested in this field.
right. So we have a few questions here. So, as a manager who's leading a team, how do you practice agile methodologies in a team of data scientists or enthusiasts who work mainly on research? Like, it is an ongoing process and success isn't guaranteed. So, how do you set deadlines and measure the progress? I think this is
So
a very nice question.
So yeah, that's a good question, because I think the term agile might seem something that's not that amenable to somebody who's working in research, because a research project, especially those who have worked on PhD projects, know it could take months. So to even get the first answer. But in a way, every time you're checking yourself, right? So if you're an individual, you're making sure that you are along the right path. So it might be that you have to run some simulations to see, okay, this is what my assumption is that correct? So you can do that and keep correcting it and going back. So even though it may not be the same as agile work in agile methodology in a team setting where you meet and you talk about how many points does this particular task require and stuff like that, yourself, you're spending time correcting yourself and so on. So that's how I would view how agile translates to what most researchers tend to do anyway. Even though it takes them a long time, they set themselves some milestones, so essentially working towards that, because you can't say I'm not going to see anything until 3 months later. That doesn't work, especially when you're working on a team. You have to share, you have to make sure that you're ready to pivot, right?
Right,
And I
right,
think almost everybody in this COVID situation has learned the importance of pivoting quickly, right?
right. So, oh, sorry. I'm sorry about it. So we have a few more questions coming up. So the question is, you showed an early slide talking about the different players on a team. What would you recommend for business leaders who are not data experts, but as you said, need to cultivate a knowledge about what technique or expertise is best for what kind of problems? Or what other advice you would be able to give to business leaders working with data experts?
Yeah. So, good question. So, nowadays, getting an introductory level acquaintance of the various analytical techniques, it's quite easy, because you there are lots of online courses that are available. You can take those, and there are lots of books, and there are there's lots of material available on the web where you can lead, and of course looking at examples, trying to say, okay, these are the types of problems I am looking at. uh, the internet is a huge source that you can go to and look at some of the journals that are there. A couple of journals that are very good is there is ORMS Today. That's Operations Research Management Source. The ORMS Today is a journal that talks a lot about problems, especially right now. They're talking about a lot of problems in COVID, and they give highlights about some of the techniques they have used. So I think it's just a matter of continuing to read and maybe taking a certification. It's possible to take an analytics certification, which actually covers predictive modeling and just a high level overview of all of that. So get a certification course that you can do on your own, and that will give you enough of a background.
Yeah. Thanks for the question, Diana. So, one more question is, what would be the tips for people changing their career track? So, Sujata is changing her career from to a data analytics field from an education background. So, what is your general advice on people who are switching or breaking into data science?
So again, I think the same thing that I said for the business leader. So first of all, you have to take a hard look and see what are the types of applications you're interested in, and then do some research to look at, okay, what are the types of analytical skills I need to gain. So again, you're not going to be able to jump right into building algorithms and stuff, but at least work with some data, and again, doing a certification of some kind is an analytics certification would be a good way to start that. And so, if I can put them in touch with some folks, so just reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'll connect you to some possibilities.
Oh, that's nice. That's so nice of you. So, just give me a second. I'm just taking up the questions. Yeah. Uh, how do you usually unplug? So I think this is uh, something on
um,
a lighter note.
yeah. How do I unplug? That actually used to be a very difficult job for me, but one of the things, I have three boys. Well, they're all not boys anymore, they're young men. So as they were growing up, they automatically pulled me to work life balance, right? And so that used to be something that I really made sure that in the evenings we always had dinner together, and worked we never missed having dinner together. That's very, very important. And no matter how busy one was, you can always find time for that, right? So that's something that's very helpful. I love taking vacations.
Mm,
You know, I love
right.
going on a vacation, and planning for a vacation probably used to take me a lot longer than the actual vacation itself. But that used to be my joy, and I would drag all my unwilling family along with me, but that was fun. Once they came, they liked it, so it was fun.
Right. So, especially after this COVID, all of us are just waiting to get off the homes and roam around.
Somebody is asking what is the name to search for on.
LinkedIn.
I'm just typing my name here,
Yeah.
Radhika Kulkarni. So,
Also, maybe we'll also share your LinkedIn ID with the newsletter that we would
oh
be
yeah, yeah, yeah.
sending.
That's
So,
that's a good one. That's
yeah,
good. That'll be
yeah.
good.
And we have one final question. So, as a female leader, what has been the most significant barrier in your career?
Mm, most significant barrier in my career. Um, you know, Interestingly, I never really felt, maybe it's because of the culture at SAS, and we had a lot of females that I was close to at work, right? And so we all used to bond together, and we had a team of a lot of experts, for whom, whether men or women, all of us, the goal was more important, and it didn't really matter. So that's something that I don't think I felt too many barriers from a work perspective. Of course,
Right.
one of the challenges, though, I think, is, as a woman, I would tend to put a lot more, what shall I say, uh, expect a lot more from myself. So, I think that is probably one of the hardest things, especially if you are trying to be a perfectionist, and you're making sure that you want to be the best. So
True.
you want to be the best at work. You want to be the best mom. You want to be the best at home. You want to be the best entertainer. When I say entertainer, we have a lot of social get-togethers, and make sure that I attend all of those. And so that used to be more trying to balance all of that, and not putting so much pressure on myself, probably,
Right.
I would say.
Okay. So, in case you have time, we have two more questions. So, or else we could again take it privately. So,
Okay.
do you want to go ahead with the questions?
What are some of the books or authors you would suggest for reading for professionals pursuing data
Data
analytics?
analytics.
So, you know, um, gosh, the name actually, it just went out of my mind. Um, why don't I send that to you? Once I look up the exact, because there is Succeeding with Analytics or something like that. It has lots of good examples of. In fact, I have it somewhere here. So
We can see the books behind.
so I'll send you the name,
Yeah.
and then some of the um, a couple of books of that kind. I'll send to you.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So, that was a
and
great session. So, there is one final question. Um,
okay. It's common for technical algorithm expert and other technical roles to be offshore overseas at 25% American wages. Company saves 75% wages. However, business analyst needs to understand domain, industry of culture, legal, etc. True. it is something that there is an increased challenge of hiring people who are not local, especially because working in a team, the face-to-face interaction with the customer is always important. But COVID has leveled the playing field now, right? Even if you're in the country, you're no longer able to meet them most of the time in person. So you have to learn. So that's also a new skill that you have to learn. How do you communicate in a remote environment? How do you communicate when all you can do is listen or see the person on a Zoom session? So that way, at least that barrier is not there anymore, that difference. But the culture and the domain challenge is there. When I say domain, it could be if you're working for a retail consulting project, then you need to understand the retail. If you're in finance, you need to understand that. So whether you are in India, China, or in the US, you have that challenge. The culture challenge is there, of course, but I think again now with so many social media types of situations, social media platforms, so many TV shows, etc., that has also reduced quite a bit, right? I think there is less of that. But again, you need to spend time understanding what the culture is. And the legal challenges, your company needs to make sure that they give you the training for that. And I think a lot of the big consulting firms do take some time to do that. How, when we had teams who had to go from the US to India or vice versa from India to here, we had a large team we still have a large team in India. There is significant amount of time explaining here's what you cannot do, you should not do types of things, right? So
Right. Yeah. Thank you for taking up the questions. And thank you especially for joining us for the first episode of this series.
my
Thank you so
pleasure.
much.
My
Yeah.
pleasure, Srinidhi, and wish you all the best for continuing these episodes and all of that. I wish you good luck, and everybody who's joined today and asked some good questions. Thank you for your interest, and I'm passionate about this area, as you can
Ah,
tell. So,
yeah, we
so
can
I
see
hope
that.
some of that passion has rubbed off on all of you. So,
Yeah. And for those of you who love this session, we are going to have the second episode of this next Tuesday. So check out our events page so that you stay updated of what's happening with the theme series. Thank you so much for joining us for the first episode. Thank you so much.
thank you. Thanks, Srinidhi. Have a good night,
Yeah.
everybody. And
Thank you.
talking if
Bye, everybody.
yeah.